Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. It's me, Michael, Katie. This week we're going to be talking about the Trump's Muslim ban, what that is and what it isn't, because there's a lot of fake news, media hype on that. We're going to talk about Iran's recent nuclear test, and if we have time, we're going to try not to go over 20 minutes this time. But if we have time, we're going to be talking about Syrian refugees. If not, we'll save that for later. So yeah, Trump's Muslim ban. Katie, I understand you've done a fair amount of research. So what is the ban, pretty much?
From what I understand, it's just the countries that he has placed on the list for the ban. No one from those countries can enter the U.S. for 90 days.
Yeah,
And
90.
people that are in the U.S., from what I understand, from those countries can stay.
Okay. Yeah. Now there was a thing I read. It was from CNN, so take that as you will. And I was, yeah. I did hear before the Washington judge ruled against the travel ban, there were something like 60,000 visas revoked, but then were reinstated. Uh, between the time the ban was enacted and the time that the Washington judge said it should be suspended. So I think that's what a lot of the controversy was about with the airport waits and all that. But yeah, yeah, the ban's pretty simple as far as I understand. Um, Now, Judge James Robert of Seattle ruled to put a temporary restraining order on that executive order, followed by Ferguson, Washington's Attorney General, backing that up. And I believe Homeland Security has actually started enacting suspension of the bans. So we'll see where that goes. Other than that, there's been a lot of media hype calling it a Muslim ban, which of course has got the regressive left up in arms. Uh, so yeah, uh, do either of you want to cover it or?
I think it is something that prevents people that might possibly be Muslim from entering the country for a very short amount of time, but it's not an act of we are discriminating against Muslims specifically, any Muslim we don't want. It's basically just a national security measure. And from what I understand is during the 90 days, they're trying to make the screening process more efficient and just more secure
Mhm.
for when they do let people in.
Yeah, yeah. Based on what I know, the countries that he's banned um, kind of have a not the best relationship with us. Like Libya, Benghazi attack, Iran doesn't like us, Iraq, a little pissed off. We've been there since 2003. Somalia, the incident with Somali pirates. I mean, it's not unfounded. Granted, we haven't actually been attacked on the homeland by those countries, which kind of confused me as to why we're not banning Saudi Arabia, oil, of course, and he's got hotels. But yeah, the thing that really annoys me about people calling it a Muslim ban is the top 10 most Muslim populated nations are Indonesia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Egypt, Iran, Turkey, Algeria, and Morocco. Now, Iran's the only one that's banned, and Turkey is like our biggest ally in the region. So if we really wanted to ban all Muslims, we would have banned a bunch of those countries, but we didn't. So I feel like Muslim ban is just the most propaganda-y name to put on that to slander him.
And it's only 90 days. It's
Yeah,
a
not
very short amount of time.
yeah, 90 days, like 3 months, not even. So yeah, there's definitely way too much media hype on this.
I heard something else that was interesting. I heard that the countries that are on the list for the ban were made by Obama,
Yeah, that's another thing I forgot. Yeah, yeah, Obama was the one who wrote up the list.
but then
So,
he
I
just
mean,
didn't follow through with it.
yeah, that that's kind of a funny thing to bring out to someone when you're debating, and it's like you do realize the list was made by Obama, and they're just like, what? You played yourself. Yeah. And another funny thing is that nobody complained when, they're all complaining about, oh, Yemen, one of those countries, these countries, Yemen. You didn't care so much about Yemen when we were selling Saudi Arabia MK-82s, cluster bombs, and white phosphorus bombs, both of which are illegal, to Saudi Arabia, knowing that they're bombing Yemen, specifically civilians, schools, hospitals, a funeral procession was bombed. And that happened under Obama's watch. But they never complained about that. So that's something that really ticks me off about it.
It's just an interesting relationship how there's kind of like this moral message trying to be pushed across, and then neither side, like the whole Trump camp and then the Clintons and the Obamas, they don't really seem to be concerned with it. Like,
Yeah, no, I,
yeah,
I always say they're two sides of the same coin. I mean, Republican, Democrat doesn't really matter. I mean, they're both going to take big money, do what their donors say, and just do stuff, do stuff like this overseas. I mean, you know, it's just always been bad, and no establishment candidate is ever going to fix it. You know, we can hope, but yeah.
it seems like the media is the one that's really pushing the whole anti-Muslim, Islamophobic crisis thing.
Yeah, oh my God, the media, like, it's wrong. Sad.
I mean, I'm
Believe me.
seeing like huge liberal reactions like everywhere. I saw just today, I think in Denver, there was some kind of like Muslim protest thing going on. Like, we
Yeah,
need to, it was like their whole message is like, oh, yeah, bring us together, not tear us apart. It's like, okay, but you do realize that there is actual danger, that there are
yeah,
terrorists out there.
yeah. I feel like the media takes the two extremes. Like, if you watch like Fox News, they're all terrorists or supporting the terrorists. You always should be shady of someone who's Arab or someone who's Muslim. We're not saying don't trust Muslims, but don't trust Muslims. But if you watch like something really far left, they're just like, everything is Islamophobic. There is no such thing as a bad, dangerous Muslim. If you even think something bad about Islam, you're a racist and a bigot and an Islamophobe. I mean, we can't get. I mean, one side's way too politically correct, and the other's not even really socially correct.
It's two extremes.
Yeah, and I criticize the two-party system all the time because that's what it gives us.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I guess moving on to the Iran thing. Let's not try to do too much time. Recently, Iran did a missile test, and we were pretty much up in arms about it. We are talking about more sanctions, closer watch. We're pretty much talking escalation with Iran
And they've been put
over
on
this missile.
notice. Whatever that
Yeah,
means.
put on. And the thing that blows my mind about this is that we had the Iran deal, which, as far as I understand, was don't enrich uranium past a certain point, don't do missile tests, and let the International Atomic Energy Council inspect you, every so often. And our end of the deal was don't put sanctions on them. Well, in a bipartisan act of Congress, we put sanctions on them. And if I hear correctly, it was for symbolic reasons, which is even worse. So basically, we broke the deal. We broke the deal, and from Iran's point of view, they're probably like, okay, they broke the deal. This deal is null and void. We can continue with our missile testing. But then they do a missile test, and we're, thinking it's the beginning of World War III and trying to punish them for breaking the deal that we broke. So, yeah. Do either of you two know more about it?
Well, I also heard there's like an incident where a few Houthi rebels in Yemen like fired on a Saudi ship, and then Sean Spicer, of course, comes out and he's like, "One of our U.S. battleships got attacked by Iran personally."
Wow. I actually didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
God. It's like we can just punch someone in the face and we're like, what? I didn't do anything. Someone scuffs our shoe and we go nuts. Yeah. Like I actually had kind of a heated discussion yesterday, and it really deals with this whole thing of American exceptionalism. We are always good. We are always right. We are good by definition. It doesn't matter what we do because we did it. It's good. And, I feel like there are like three types of people. There are the people who don't notice any hypocrisy we do. They really think everything we do is good by definition. And then there are people who realize that we can be hypocritical and we can do wrong, but they kind of just drink the Kool-Aid and play along. And then there are the people who will like actually criticize. But, of course, in today's age, you're not allowed to point out that the emperor has no clothes. You're not, you got to play along. And this is the part that freaking killed me. They're like, oh, you're some Iran lover, aren't you? And it's like, Iran is a theocracy. There's no minority rights to speak of. They like hang you for being gay. Like, fuck Iran. But in this one instance, they're in the right. I mean, I got to admit that. I will defend them in this instance. So, a lot of absolutist thinking. You have to be all one or the other.
Yeah, I feel like with our current generation, the whole American exceptionalist thing is kind of going away. More
Yeah.
with the SJW camp, it's definitely gone. They will criticize America anytime they can.
Yeah. I'm glad American exceptionalism is like going away, but I feel like the SJWs like will criticize us for anything and like try to turn everything bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in the history textbooks, back then, an American exceptionalist textbook would be like, I think there actually was a textbook. Like, I read something online. There's a history textbook in Alabama in the 1970s that said slavery wasn't so bad. It was like Social Security. I feel like an SJW textbook would be like there were concentration camps and gas chambers, and it was basically Nazi Germany. When the reality is like, yeah, there was slavery just by definition is fucked. But it wasn't like everyone constantly beating and whipping and like, because, I mean, if you think about it, those were, as much as I hate to say this, they were their investments. So it's like, why would you do that unless you're just one of those like few really twisted people? But yeah, I feel like SJWs like kind of criticize us for the sake of it, even when we actually don't deserve it.
I feel like you need to look at things through an unbiased lens, not thinking, oh, my nation's the greatest, or thinking, oh, my nation does horrible things constantly. You have to look at things for what they are and just take it at face value.
Yeah, but you see, that takes like effort, and I just don't want to do that, you know? Uh, yeah, like if I can't get my news on Facebook, it's not worth getting. I'm not gonna put that much effort into it. Uh, Facebook news, Jesus. BuzzFeed news. Oh my gosh.
Facebook is a cancer to go on these days, at least on my Facebook feed. The amount of political posts that I don't want to see.
Yeah, and it's like whenever someone, it's like whenever I make a political post, I always try to make it like very reasonable, very informative. Like I try to make it like 80% facts, 20% opinion.
Hmm.
So it's like I try to go the extra mile to not start a flame war. Um, but yeah, uh, like, do you guys feel bringing in Syrian refugees is like a good idea? How many should we? Or
It's just a really hard question to have an answer to because we don't know how the effects are going to go. We don't know how things will turn out. I don't think it's smart to just let in everyone, like, because
yeah,
we've seen in Europe all the problems they've been having. But at the same time, this is a humanitarian issue
yeah,
partly caused by us. So
yeah, yeah. Michael?
Yeah, I think we should let in some, just a reasonable amount, though.
Yeah,
But I mean, at the moment, like we're only letting in like what is it, like 1,000 or something? Like a
yeah.
really
Germany
low
took in,
number, whereas like Germany's like 100,000 or
eight.
something ridiculous. So
I
I
think they
think we
took in
could pick
80.
up the slack there a bit. But
Yeah. When it comes to refugees, like it is a difficult thing because like Germany and Sweden for a while actually took in a lot, but Sweden actually shut their doors, and Germany, like Angela Merkel's in hot water over this.
mm,
Like Sweden and Germany noticed rise in crime, sexual harassment, and in Germany there's like a lot of resentment. Like they don't like the Germans, the native Germans. And I was in Vienna, and I actually saw anti-refugee protests in Vienna. And I talked to one of the protesters, and he said, "I've got nothing against these people for their race or their religion, but it's like they're coming in and they're not, most of them anyway, are not like really trying to contribute. They're not appreciating like Germany. They're like, a lot of them are trying to be very insular and reject the German culture altogether. And it's really a hassle for them. So I feel like, even though you shouldn't like totally assimilate, you should, at least practice the culture, like give it a little appreciation, but I feel like on one hand, they can't stay there because we're bombing. I mean, how can you say we're going to bomb you, but stay there, it'll be cool? They can't stay there. But we can't cram half the Middle East into Europe and America.
mm,
And if we did let a whole bunch of them in, I don't know the English literacy rate in, like Syria, but we'd have to put them in our schools, and it would like slow down the school system because we have to catch them up, teach them English probably. Either that or we'd have to put them in like a decelerated learning program, but then people would say that's segregating the refugees, that's racist. So I definitely feel like we should take in the ones that have been vetted, the ones that do seem to like really want to be here. But yeah, we really got to take more efforts to making the Middle East safer, because again, we can't cram half the Middle East into Europe and here.
And a lot of them, they don't want to leave their home country. They don't want to have to change their culture, learn a new language, but
Yeah.
their
Yeah,
country is in crisis. So,
yeah, yeah. A lot of them probably don't want to. Like they just have to live. Yeah. I feel like we gotta have more discretion with our bombs and drones. Like, I think my grandfather, who was Air Force, told me there's like a formula or like a ratio to how many civilians to targets you're allowed to kill, which is kind of cold and calculated. But yeah, we gotta find a way to stop killing so many civilians and destroying so much infrastructure. You know, pretty much we got to find a way to get out of there because this is costing way too much money and lives and humanitarian crisis.